Hey everybody, I wanted to show you my new favorite battery for Axial SXC24 tiny trucks. It's made by Gens Ace and it's a slightly different shape than the more common ones, but I'll show you why I like it better. Gens Ace is a super reliable brand. I've had great luck with them. They're a big company. They were first recommended to me by my friend Francis Sebadoh, who runs RC Review, and they've never failed me yet. Unlike some other batteries that have failed me, I really like Gens Ace. Now this is a 450 2S and it's a 25C. People sometimes get hung up on having a really high C number, but for these tiny trucks, 25C, that's the rate of discharge that the battery can dump. That's more than enough for this type of vehicle. Now, I always start by removing all the warnings. And you'll notice it has a JST plug instead. So you will have to switch to a pH 2.0 plug, but you can get a bag of them pretty inexpensively. I find that you want your wire a little bit longer on these tiny trucks anyway, so it's win-win if you put in a few minutes to switch your connectors. Now, one thing you want to be super careful about when you remove your connector, don't cut them both at once. Lipo batteries are very powerful, and if you use your pliers to cut both at once, you can short across the cables and fry your battery, fry your pliers, fry lots of stuff. So don't do that. Make sure you only cut one at a time. I've already done this one. I'm going to cut it about the same length. So cut one at a time. I usually keep the other one completely intact until I'm done soldering this one. I'm not going to solder it right now, so the best thing to do is protect that open wire with some tape until I get back to it. So I'm just going to protect that with some tape to be extra safe. The other thing you'll notice is it has this really big clear plug on it. This is largely unnecessary. It's a strain relief that allows you to pull on the connector without pulling on the wires. But it's largely unnecessary. I remove all of mine. Remove it at your own risk, but it's really not a big deal. You can usually just pop them off with a screwdriver. And this is really nothing more than a small shield and serves no other functional purpose than to keep you from pulling on the wires. But it's super bulky, especially in these tiny cars, so I just get rid of them. Now, what I like about this battery is it's flatter than the more common batteries. This is about 30 by 56 compared to 24 by 48. So it's quite a bit bigger footprint, but it's much thinner. The thickness of a standard battery is about 10.2, and this battery is really thin. It's only 8.6. I really like that. On my vehicles, I have this really cool battery mount bracket. It's actually a receiver mount, but I use it for my battery mount because the battery is a heavier component. And you can see it sits at an angle. It's at an angle, so it puts your battery down lower. At least half of your battery is down lower than if it were sitting flat. So your battery goes right in here at an angle like that. I really like how that sits in there, and it works perfectly with this size battery. And like I said before, because the battery is flatter, that weight gets pushed down just a little bit, and every gram that you can get of a lower CG, especially on these super light cars, these super tiny trucks that are so light, it really helps. So The other thing I do is I always put an extra piece of shrink wrap around all my batteries, no matter what size it is, because I want that extra protection. So just line it up, cut it, I don't know, maybe 1/4 inch bigger than the battery. Center of the battery. And melt it right on there. I hold on to the wires just because it's easier. Make sure you work your way around kind of evenly. Be careful not to get it too hot. It could potentially damage your battery if you held the heat directly on there too long. Just try to get it nice and flat. Be sure the ends are tucked in. There you go. Now you've got a battery with some extra protection. And I like this extra on the ends here. It's even a little bit more protection. I'll put some affiliate links in the description for everything you see here in the video. I only link to items that I own and use and have purchased with my own money. But I do have to warn you, if you use those links to shop, you will be officially sticking it to the man because Amazon will share a sliver of their profit with me. Always charge and store your batteries in a Lipo bag. It's not that hard to do. Don't be that one person who thinks it'll never happen to them. There's all shapes and sizes. And I take it one step further. And I have an ammunition box that I store them in. And then I store it in the garage. And ideally, if you can charge outside, that's even better. The charger that I really like is this guy here. It's pretty inexpensive. It does 2S or 3S. It's a balanced charger, which is absolutely what you want. You just plug it in and go, and it'll do the balancing automatically, and it's perfect for these tiny batteries. I hope that helps, and I hope it gives you some ideas.